Every night for your entire life, your brain is taking you somewhere you did not choose to go. Not a memory, not a plan, not a deliberate thought. Something else entirely. A place with its own logic, its own gravity, its own version of people you know. And then you wake up and most of it dissolves before your feet touch the floor. You might catch a fragment, something that felt urgent a moment ago, and then it is gone. This happens to every human being alive. It has happened to every human being who ever lived, and for most of that time, nobody knew why. That is what this episode is about. Not what dreams mean in the symbolic sense, not interpretation or mythology, but something more grounded and in some ways more surprising. The question of why ancient humans may have needed to dream at all, what dreaming was doing for them, and quietly, what it might still be doing for you. Because the answer, when you sit with it, says something real about the kind of animal we are. Let's start with what we actually know about dreaming from a biological standpoint, described plainly. Sleep is not a rest state in the way we often imagine it. The brain does not simply go quiet. Certain phases of sleep, particularly the stage researchers call REM sleep, show a brain that is almost as electrically active as when you are fully awake. Blood flow increases. The eyes move rapidly behind closed lids. The body is held in a kind of intentional stillness by the nervous system, as if something wants the brain to run freely without the body following along. This is when most vivid dreaming happens, and this pattern is not unique to humans. It appears in mammals generally, and in birds. It is old. It is conserved across species in a way that suggests it is not accidental. Evolution tends not to keep things that cost energy if they serve no purpose, and dreaming costs energy, so something is happening. One of the most well-supported ideas in current sleep research is that dreaming, and REM sleep specifically, plays a significant role in how the brain processes emotional experience. Not just stores information, but works through the feeling attached to it. During REM sleep, a neurochemical that is associated with stress and anxiety is significantly reduced in the brain. The emotional charge of a memory gets processed while the analytical parts of the brain are muffled. Some researchers describe this as the brain replaying difficult experiences in a safer internal environment, trying to find where they fit, trying to reduce the raw distress attached to them. You have probably noticed this yourself without realizing what it was. You go to bed upset about something and wake up feeling less acute about it, not fixed, but softer. The dream may have done something to the edge of it. Now bring that back to the ancient human. Not ancient in a vague sense, but a real person, perhaps 40,000 years ago, perhaps more, living in a small group, facing real physical danger, real social uncertainty, real loss. The stakes of daily life were immediate in a way most of us will never experience. A conflict within the group was not a workplace inconvenience. It was a threat to survival. Losing someone to illness or a hunt gone wrong carried grief that had no abstract distance from it. Fear was not background noise. It was present and specific and often reasonable. Every single day contained experiences that needed to be processed somehow. And there were no therapists, no journals, no solitary walks in safe parks. There was the group, the fire, the dark, and sleep. This is where dreaming starts to look less like a quirk and more like a necessary tool. If emotional processing during REM sleep was helping the ancient human metabolize fear, grief, social conflict, then dreaming was not some accidental side effect of brain activity. It was part of how the mind stayed functional enough to keep going. to re-enter the group in the morning, to make decisions, to trust again after a betrayal or move after a loss. The dream was not decoration, it was maintenance. There is another angle worth sitting with. Dreams tend to draw on recent experience and on things that matter emotionally. They are not random in the way they feel random. Research into dream content consistently finds that dreams cluster around concerns, relationships, unresolved tensions. They revisit things with emotional weight. For the ancient human, those concerns were deeply social. Who was trustworthy? Who was angry? Where the group stood? How to navigate the web of relationships that determine whether you ate, whether you were protected, whether you belonged. Social intelligence was not a luxury in that world. It was survival. And it appears the sleeping brain was working on exactly that, running simulations, revisiting interactions, preparing the social self for what was coming. Some researchers studying the function of dreams have pointed toward this kind of social rehearsal as one of dreams' possible roles. The brain practicing situations, running through threat scenarios, testing responses, not because it is planning consciously, but because the machinery that keeps you socially alive does not fully switch off. It keeps working in the dark. Here is where this becomes personal rather than historical. You are still that animal. The brain you are carrying has not fundamentally changed. The same structures that were processing danger and grief and social belonging tens of thousands of years ago are doing their quiet work behind your eyes tonight. When you dream about something that went wrong at work or find yourself in a dream version of a conversation you handled badly, or wake with a feeling of dread you cannot attach to anything specific, that is not malfunction. That is the old machinery doing what it was built to do, processing what is unresolved, filing what matters, reducing the charge on what hurt, which raises a quiet and practical question. What does that mean for how you treat sleep? Many people treat sleep as the thing that happens when the day is finally over, the least interesting part of the cycle, something to get through efficiently and then move on from. But if the brain is spending part of that time actively processing the emotional texture of your life, then the quality and length of your sleep matters in a way that goes beyond physical rest. Cutting it short, fragmenting it, reaching for the phone in the small hours, these things interrupt a process that is actually trying to help you. The dream cycle you miss at the end of a shortened night is disproportionately REM heavy, meaning the part most associated with emotional processing is exactly what gets cut. This is not a lecture about sleep hygiene. It is something quieter than that. It is just worth knowing that when you wake from a dream feeling like something was worked on, something probably was. And when you consistently deny yourself the time for that to happen, the emotional backlog tends to build. Things that would have softened overnight stay sharp. Reactions that might have settled remain reactive. The ancient human did not choose to dream, but in not fighting it, in lying down in the dark and letting the brain do what it needed to do, they were participating in something that kept them intact. There is a small, gentle thing to take from this. Not a technique, just a reframe. On nights when your dreams are vivid or disturbing, it is natural to wake feeling unsettled. But there is another way to hold it. The fact that the brain is working hard on something during sleep is not a sign that something is wrong. It is often a sign that something matters, that the mind has real material to work with, that you are a person with a life complicated enough to need processing. That is not a problem. That is being human. And on nights when sleep comes hard or dreams wake you at strange hours, it can help just to remember that there is something in you, old and patient and not fully understood, that is trying to do its job. You do not have to understand every dream. You do not have to record them or decode them. You just have to let the night have enough space to be what it needs to be. This is general insight into human patterns, not a substitute for professional support if you are struggling with sleep or emotional distress in a way that feels unmanageable. We have been dreaming since before we had words for it, since before we had any way to explain to each other what happened behind our eyes in the dark. And yet we kept doing it every night in every climate and culture and circumstance. Not because anyone decided to, because something in the design of us required it. That seems worth knowing. That the most mysterious thing your brain does every night is also one of its oldest and most necessary habits. That the strange theater of your sleeping mind has been running for a very long time, and it has reasons, even when you cannot name them. If this kind of quiet exploration of why we are the way we are is something you find useful, there is a new episode here every day. The subscribe button is there whenever you are ready.